Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Duggar ex-pals Jim and Bobye Holt lose custody of kids and are deemed unfit parents after severe physical and mental abuse. Jim, 59, and Bobye, 55, were close friends with Jim Bob, 59, and Michelle, 58, as their eldest daughter had entered a courtship with their oldest son Josh with the goal of marriage. In April 2023, Bobye requested an order of protection against her husband, who she shares 11 children with, before dismissing the order in December 2023. Jim and Bobye's son Spencer then filed a petition for emergency guardianship for 3 of their minor children in January 2024, citing abuse. Now, the U.S. son can exclusively reveal per court papers that Jim and Bobye have lost custody of their minor children, ages 13 and 8. In the petition for emergency guardianship obtained by the U.S. son from Madison County Court in Arkansas, Spencer, who noted he has developed a close personal relationship with the minor children throughout their lives, claimed Jim has engaged in a pattern of severe physical and mental abuse of the minor children throughout their life, as witnessed and experienced by the other children who are now over 18 years of age. Spencer noted the 2 protection orders granted against the children's father on behalf of his son Samuel Holt and wife Bobye, as the 3 minor children were protected in her order. Spencer claimed that without warning, Bobye dismissed the protection order and allowed Jim back home with the minor children. Bobye has thus again subjected the children to the same physical and mental abuse at the hands of the father that was the cause of the first protection order, without warning or reason, and is not fit to have custody of the children, the papers allege. Spencer then explained how Samuel's order of protection, which the court granted, is still active because of years of physical and mental abuse. The children's father has continued this pattern with all of his children, including the 3 minor children, and he is not fit to have custody of the children. It would be in the best interests of the minor children that a temporary and permanent guardianship be created placing custody of the minor children with the petitioner, the papers read. Spencer continued to allege that an emergency exists in which the children's father has recently engaged in a continuing pattern of physical violence with the children, and subjected the minor children to witnessing the physical and mental abuse of the other siblings, and the children are understandably afraid of him. Jim Holt has made his intentions known to the children if he is allowed to return to the home. Bobye Holt has made it clear by voluntarily dismissing her protection order that she is unwilling to protect the children from this danger. He asked to be appointed as the guardians of person and the estate of the minor children immediately, denying the claims. In Jim and Bobye's answer to the petition, they claimed regarding the protection order and abuse, respondents admit 2 orders of protection were consented to without an evidentiary hearing being held. Bobye Holt has since removed the order of protection. The order of protection against Samuel, based on conduct that was alleged to occur after Samuel was an adult, is still in place. To the extent any further response is required, respondents deny the allegations. Regarding the claim that the children are afraid of their father, the couple responded, respondents deny the allegations. Having fully responded to this petition, respondents request this court deny and dismiss the petition in its entirety, and that petitioner take nothing thereby for their attorney's fees and costs incurred herein, and for such other relief as this court deems just and proper. Jim and Bobye claim Spencer is not qualified nor suitable to be a guardian, and that if one is needed, they recommended another couple. In February 2024, after testimony of the parties and their witnesses and arguments of attorneys, the court found Spencer is qualified, suitable, and fit to act as guardian of the 3 minor children. This court finds that due to a history and continuing pattern of abuse in the household of James and Bobye Holt, there is an imminent threat to the health and safety of the minor children, and as a result, a guardian is desirable to protect the interests of the minor children. Spencer was named the permanent guardian of the oldest minor child and temporary guardian of the 2 younger minors, according to court papers. Jim was ordered to continue his current counseling until discharged by the counselor. Visitation between the children and their parents is to be held at the direction of their counselor and attorney ad litem for the minor children. Jim and Bobye were also ordered to pay child support to Spencer for the minor children. The Duggar family has long been a polarizing force in reality television, their strict fundamentalist Christian beliefs and massive brood of 19 children catapulting them into the public eye. Yet in the shadow of their fame lies a web of controversies, scandals, and disturbing allegations. The latest fallout extends to their once close allies, Jim and Bobye Holt, whose parenting practices are now under the spotlight. Once a trusted part of the Duggar family's inner circle, the Holts have recently been deemed unfit parents and lost custody of their children following allegations of severe physical and mental abuse. ####A family in crisis. Jim and Bobye Holt were, for years, regarded as pillars of their fundamentalist community, preaching the importance of strict biblical teachings and maintaining a public image of familial harmony. Known to many as close friends and confidants of Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar, the Holts were featured in early Duggar media appearances as advocates for faith-based parenting. Their oldest daughter, Kelly, even courted Josh Duggar in a relationship that was rumored to lead to marriage before it ended abruptly. However, behind closed doors, the Holts' reality was far from the picture-perfect narrative they projected. According to sources close to the family, years of systematic abuse unraveled in court documents and witness testimonies, revealing a toxic household where control, fear, and manipulation reigned supreme. ###disturbing allegations surface. The case began when one of the Holt children, now an adult, came forward with allegations of sustained abuse spanning over a decade. This individual, whose identity is being protected, detailed a harrowing environment where physical punishment was administered for minor infractions and verbal berattment was used to enforce compliance. Court records describe incidents where children were subjected to disciplinary measures that bordered on torture. These measures allegedly included extended isolation, deprivation of food, and forced physical exertion as punishment for perceived disobedience. Mental abuse was just as pervasive. The Holts reportedly belittled and humiliated their children, using faith as a weapon to instill fear of divine punishment for their sins. One particularly damning testimony came from a former family friend who claimed that Jim and Bobye justified their extreme discipline methods by citing scripture. They believed they were doing God's work by breaking the will of their children, the source revealed. They thought suffering would make them stronger and more obedient, but all it did was scar them. ###breaking the silence. For years, these allegations remained buried, with the Holt children too afraid to speak out. The turning point came when their oldest child, now in her mid-20s, decided to break her silence. In a gripping interview with local media, she recounted her experiences growing up in a home ruled by fear. "I remember being 6 years old and terrified of making a mistake," she said, her voice shaking. "If I cried too loudly or didn't finish my chores on time, I knew it was coming. They told me it was love, but it didn't feel like love. It felt like control." Her decision to speak out inspired her younger siblings to come forward as well, providing investigators with a unified account of the Holt's abusive practices. The flood of evidence culminated in a child welfare investigation that ultimately led to the removal of the Holt's minor children from their care. ###the legal fallout. In a recent court ruling, Jim and Bobye Holt were officially declared unfit parents. The judge overseeing the case described the evidence as deeply troubling, highlighting a pattern of neglect and abuse that left the children emotionally and physically scarred. Parenthood is a sacred responsibility, not a license for unchecked authority, the judge stated in the courtroom. The Holt's actions are a gross betrayal of the trust placed in them as caregivers. As a result, the court terminated their parental rights, placing the remaining minor children in foster care while adult siblings rallied to provide support. The decision marked a definitive end to the Holt's ability to control their children, but it also raised broader questions about the culture that enabled such abuse to persist for so long. ### connections to the Duggar scandals. This case has reignited scrutiny of the Duggar family and their extended network of friends and allies, many of whom share similar parenting ideologies rooted in the controversial teachings of the Institute in Basic Life Principles, IBLP. Critics argue that the IBLP's emphasis on obedience, patriarchal authority, and corporal punishment creates an environment ripe for abuse.